Hi, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be reviewing a Jazzman'S Blues, directed by Tyler Perry and written by Tyler Perry. I believe it was one of his first screenplays that he wrote.
Very
I don't
good.
know if that's true or not, but
It is
I
true.
think that
He wrote it 27 years ago. I'm not a big Tyler Perry fan. Uh, and I've seen a couple of his movies. I'm just not a fan of that comedy, that he does. But I did find out that yes, this was the first script he wrote 27 years ago. And I admire his story of how he became a success. Basically, he started a theater, like acting, stage theater in Georgia,
Mhm.
and he basically lived in his car for like 1 or 2 years till he
Wow.
finally started making a little money. I mean, that's how driven he was. And then
Wow.
this is one of his first scripts, and he says that this script is so close to him that he made all these other things to become a success so he could make this movie. This is
Hmm.
like the penultimate this magna opus. This is the thing and I think he's going to go on and do other things too, right? I assume. But this was the one he really wanted to make, and everything else has just been leading up to this, even all the
Wow.
comedies, everything. And when I first started watching the movie, I expected that old lady to be him walking, because I didn't know what type of movie it was. I didn't know what the heck I'm watching here. And it's like, I thought when you go into the office and you just finally see her, it'd be him. Handing his old lady character, right? Medea or whatever
Yeah.
her name is.
Well, before you said that, I was going to say that is so touching. I didn't know that that this meant so much to him. So it's an even more meaningful film for me.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've ever seen a Tyler Perry movie actually. So
Well, I've seen a bit of Medea, and I've watched if that's how you pronounce the name, because I said I'm not a huge fan. And then he did this Alex Cord or something. He was just an acting job where he plays like a cop or something. That was pretty good. That was actually a pretty good movie where he's just
yeah.
a straight character, and he was just hired to do the job as an actor, right?
Mhm.
But other than that, I'm not a big Tyler Perry. I probably would not have watched this movie unless you suggested it,
Mhm.
you know, because
Well,
it
I will
was
tell you what I
anything.
thought about it.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. What were you going to say? Let you finish your
No,
sentence.
go ahead and go.
Okay. So I loved the movie. I thought it was just a beautiful film. I I loved every moment of it. I could cry right now talking about it. I thought it was just a beautiful film. It was set in Georgia, right? Am I remembering correctly? Set in Georgia?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tyler Perry seems to be a little bit like some of these, I don't know what you call them, auteurs, like Stephen King. Everything is about Maine. Everything, these people are just really tied into their roots and where they live. And I think Tyler Perry is the same with Georgia.
Yeah.
So he has a studio in Georgia, Tyler Perry
Interesting.
studio. Yeah, which was
And
this.
it's so weird. I have a tie to Georgia. I don't know why, maybe in a past life or something, because I always wanted to live in Georgia. I felt like I just love Georgia. I did my seventh grade report on Georgia. I don't know. I just love Georgia. I've never even been there, but I don't know. Feel this like connection to it. But anyways, I love the film. Joshua Boone, is it Joshua Boone that played
Mm,
Bayou? That he was perfect. Everybody was perfectly cast. Saleha Pfeiffer is Leanne. She was perfectly cast. And then the brother, Austin Scott, playing Willie Earl. Such a sad story, and that connection between the brothers was just heartbreaking. And then the spoiler alert, you should have watched the film, if you're watching us, but um what was he thinking at the end with his brother? That was so horrible. And then Amira, who played his mom, with that amazing voice. Oh my gosh, her voice is
mm.
just phenomenal. So what an amazing performer. So just the casting itself was perfect, and I thought that the screenplay was perfect. The the direction of the film, everything. I just thought it was perfection. Loved every moment of it. There wasn't anything I didn't like. Well,
Huh.
I guess there was one thing I didn't like. I felt like when they had him perform in the nightclub, it could have been a little bit more spectacular. I felt like it was a little bit more anticlimactic. I can't say that word right. Anti, whatever that word is. I
Mm.
just felt like it should have been more like Bayou should have been. His voice is so wonderful. I just felt like it wasn't showcased enough somehow.
Mm.
But other than
Yeah,
that,
his voice was impressive. Yeah, it was, and I'm looking at the also. Well, like I said, I wasn't going to. I never watch these kind of movies. I'm not a big romance guy unless it's something like West Side Story or something, uh, some big musical or things, the big stuff. And but this was big though. Like I said, I would never watched it unless it suggested it to me, and I'm glad you did because it was quite moving.
and
You
it was
know,
very moving.
and
Yes.
Tyler Perry says he did it was special to him also because he was treated the same way by his father as
Mm,
because his I guess his brother was light skinned also,
mhm,
which is a big part of this interracial biracial type movie, like
yeah.
Jungle Fever, like Spike Lee has gone into this, and there's been quite a few movies over the years that deal with the biracial, interracial, the light skinned girl, the light skinned guy,
Mhm,
and how they try to make it through both worlds, the white world and the African American world,
yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
begs the
That was fascinating.
yeah, because you think back on our heritage, right? Somewhere down the line, since we have a West African DNA in us, somewhere down the line, someone in our family had to go through exactly the same thing.
Hmm.
Either crossing the line and going over to the white side, or having to deal with all those issues. And God knows,
Hmm.
that was many years ago. It must have been very, very traumatic and difficult to deal
Yeah.
with. We're talking hundreds of years here
Yeah.
for our family, right? So yeah, it's just in the South, the whole idea of lynching is another thing. I looked it up. Georgia, almost,
Yeah.
I think they said over 400 lynchings
So that was something that
over
entered my
over 100,
mind, and I
400,
had to
over
look
100
up
years.
why do they lynch? What is that? I mean, I
Why
know
did
why
they
they're
shoot
doing
them?
as far as like cruelty. I get that part, but why that choice? Why that horrific act? Why not
Well,
something else?
well,
Is it to
you
like
know,
show like vision so people can see like the hatred? Like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I
Well,
guess
hanging was a thing that went back all the way to England and probably into Europe too. I mean,
uh,
it was a thing
that's
that
true.
just happened, and in the Wild West is all hanging. It doesn't have to be black or white. You do something and they hang you. If you steal a horse, they hang you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, but the South kind of like took that to another extreme, and they took it all the way into the 20th century.
Hmm.
You know, uh, with they were still lynching people
Yeah.
into the 40s and 50s. I can't remember. I don't know when the last lynching was of African American, but it was not that long ago, and mostly in the South.
Hmm.
Mississippi is at the highest number, and then Georgia is, I think, number three. Alabama, or maybe it's Alabama number one. I don't know. But I mean, those southern states, Louisiana's got an god awful amount too. So it's in Texas also, like over 300 and something. So,
Yeah.
and this is, we're talking about the African Americans, uh, even though they do, they have lynched white people too. You know, San
Yeah.
Jose had a very one of the last lynchings in America was of two white guys or Italians, I don't know what they were, that were lynched. They supposedly killed an heiress, and they took him out of jail and lynched him right there in San Jose, back in
Mm.
like I'm not sure what year it was. I had not been the last one. It was like last one in California, let's say, like in the 30s
Yeah.
or something. I can't remember the exact history of it, but yeah, it's just something that went on. So it doesn't.
It's such
But
a violent act, though. I mean, I think about like if we're talking about like the Middle Ages again, I'm the dummy with like history too. But what is it when they chop people's heads off? Um,
Chop people's heads off. Oh,
yeah, there's that guillotine. Is it the guillotine or
oh,
something like that?
well, the guillotine's a fairly
Guillotine. Oh,
new.
Steve, say things right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
The guillotine's a fairly new.
I mean,
Well,
it's just horrific. I mean, that I feel like hanging's worse than all of them though, just because it's so visual and they're just left there for everyone to see. It's just I thought it was just it just entered my mind as why is that something that they chose to do, like the Ku Klux Klan,
mhm.
why that?
Well, again, you're probably right. It's probably a way of spreading fear among the African American
Yeah,
population, and
yeah,
makes them scared. That make me scared if they're
mhm,
seeing
yeah,
something like that. And these people, I don't want to say it, but what assholes! I can't. I just, you just hate them, right?
yeah, you do.
In every,
Well,
in every, in every way. And it's interesting, and I don't want to do the spoiler alert, but this ending scene, of course, puts the cherry on top, where
mhm,
this guy has grown up all of his life a racist, and it turns out,
right,
right? It's just like, you know, Hitler discovering he's a Jew, or whatever, which I think he did know. But it's just it's just so horrifying. Which brings us to this whole grotesque situation. So it does have ties to Southern Gothic. I don't know if it would be a straight Southern, because we talked about that with uh, what was the movie we saw?
where the
Southern Gothic.
crawdad thing.
Yeah, where the crawdads sing. Yeah, there is some parallels between this and Southern Gothic, even though it was
Mhm,
pretty much a romance film, you know.
yeah,
Uh, but it did have some grotesque elements, the girl's horrible home life, very
right.
grotesque, right? Um,
So sad.
and then the situation of her trying to pass herself off, her mother trying to pass her off as white.
Well, and that wasn't her mother, that wasn't like her aunt or something like that. It wasn't even her
Oh,
mother.
I thought it was her mother, so I was getting
Anyway,
a little confused there. So that was her aunt, huh?
I
Yeah.
believe so, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I
Who was
mean, it really,
passing her? Who was in Boston passing herself off as white?
right. Hmm.
So I'm sure it was a common thing, and like they've made quite a few movies that have dealt with this, going all the way back to the 30s, with the light skinned girls,
Hmm.
trying to make it in white society. So it's not a new thing, but again, Tyler Perry, it was his very close to his heart, and he did it. He's becoming a master of movie making, and I think that this is really his. This is going to push. I was thinking when I was watching, I said, "Wow, it's time to give him some real money and do something really big, right?" You know,
Hmm.
like Spike Lee has done with Malcolm X, or some of these other big African American directors. Have him, now he can. I think he could handle it very well, right?
Yay, Netflix. Netflix
Yeah,
made that
Netflix.
happen.
Yeah, well, Netflix has been yeah, they can make some really great stuff, right? Like Queen's Gambit, I think, is probably the best miniseries
Yeah.
they've ever done. Fantastic show. And then they have me time on the bottom on the other side. So I tell you, it's such a discrepancy, right? And poor Kevin Hart.
Just insane, actually.
Maybe Tyler Perry should take Kevin Hart under his wing and try to do something with him.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. I know. I mean, this compared to Me Time, I mean, there's literally no comparison as far as quality.
Right.
I mean, you can't compare the movies, obviously, they're totally different, but I mean, the quality, oh my God.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, yeah, fantastic movie. I guess we both give it thumbs up,
Yeah.
and just I'm glad I watched it. First I kind of like, oh no, that's gonna be a romance, and I don't like, some interesting, because having lived in the South myself, I was kind of interested in all the Southern nuances
Hmm.
and stuff going on, and but then it started getting interesting, right? And they start
Yeah.
having
Did you,
all the
n-
conflicts and everything that kept getting brought up,
is
you
that
know,
what
and then,
Georgia looks like?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
obviously, like you
The
said,
South in general kind of looks like that. I mean, Florida, of course, is, you know, now underwater, so it doesn't look like that at all. But in general, yes, terrible, huh? Uh, in general, yeah, the hanging moss and Louisiana even looks a lot like that. I mean, they could have shot it in Louisiana and down in southern Louisiana and probably got away with it and making it, calling it Georgia, but it was shot in Georgia, you know.
mhm, yeah.
Um, I
Someday I'm
think
gonna
my
visit.
credits got cut off, but at the very beginning they had like the big Georgia peach, so I assume, yeah, and his studios in Georgia, so yeah, I
Mhm.
assume it was shot in
Yeah.
Georgia, you know. But yeah, he just yeah, he just that was his. It was a very highly recommended movie to watch. You know,
Mhm. Two thumbs up.
two thumbs
We're
up.
gonna think of something more clever though.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
anyway,
Well,
thank you
like
for
and
watching our.
subscribe.
Thank you. Yeah, watch it. Yeah, make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I think we're up to like maybe 6 subscribers. You know, but it's fun. We do this for fun because we like watching movies and talking about them.
Yeah,
So okay.
super.
Good night, all. Good night, internet. Goodbye, internet. Good day, internet, wherever you are in the world.